Thank you so much. Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited. First of all, I'm going to spew out some facts about my experience that's going to hopefully build some credibility with you guys. So I started my business 33 years ago. I wrote a business plan, raised $100,000 when I was 23 years old. I co-founded or founded 5+ businesses. Currently, my retail businesses are going to do this year in excess of $16 million in sales. We employ over 500 people. Let's see, I went to Tufts University and got my undergraduate degree in biology and psychology. I then went to the University of Texas and got my master's in business. I was the first professional female boxer in the state of Texas. See, that's what gets your attention. I was mayor pro tem and a city council member for the city of Westlake. Our business has been written up in Inc. magazine. It's been written up in the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, People magazine, Reader's Digest. We were profiled on Giada. We were profiled on Al Roker's show. We were on The View as in the top 5 ice creams in the country. So did I get any credibility? Okay, now I'm going to break that down. I am a wreck. I'm a wreck of a person. I cried the first week of business school. It took probably until 10 years ago for me to think, I always thought that I'm faking it and people are going to find out that I'm not the person that they think I am. I have no business in business. I never took a single business class. I took biology and psychology. I didn't belong in business. So what this means is that it took me, for those of you who are good at math, 33 plus 23, or my 56 years to build confidence enough to be out here in front of you. And still today, if I listen to my inner voice, it says, what are you doing talking to these people? Why do you think you know more? And the reality is, what I learned is that you've got to be comfortable in your skin. And what you can be really great at is being you. And you have to understand that that's valuable. And when that shows up in business, that's your competitive advantage. So what I can do today is to try and accelerate the process. What I want to do is try and give you some of the tricks and cues that I got along the way to help accelerate that confidence. And when you have confidence, you trust yourself. And brain science tells you, which is what I studied, I should know something about, brain science tells you that you build more synapses in your brain when you go through a struggle and failure, way more than you do when you have a success. So confidence allows us to try and fail and not think that we're crap and that we can't do it, just that that particular effort didn't succeed. So here are some of my tricks. Number one, I absolutely love small business. One of the reasons is because you're never bored. You're a lawyer, you're a real estate agent, you're a designer, you're an architect, you know, you're a marketing person, you're HR. You have so many roles as a small business. You can't be great at all those things. So figure out which ones you have skills in and focus on those, and then go look for mentors or hire people who are better than you in the other areas. Learn from them, but you can't be an expert in everything. And that took me a long time to kind of figure out. I thought I just would beat myself up because I didn't know enough about that. Second of all, and this kind of contradicts number one, how many of you have ever said out loud, I'm not good at math? Raise your hand. Okay. Forget that. You're good at math. There is a wonderful woman, Jo Baylor, who wrote a number of books, she's out of Stanford, about the fallacy that we either have a math brain or we don't have a math brain. We just have not been motivated to understand how math plays a role in our life and how important it is. I want you to love financial statements. I want you to attack financial literacy like it was learning the English language or Spanish language. It is not rocket science. It is addition, subtraction, and a little bit of division. I want you to love it. The income statement, the balance sheet, the cash flow statement. I want you to know what those are. There's a number of ways to do that. It's not going to take you forever. My undergraduate, like I said, was biology and psychology. I don't know how to do a financial statement. I went to ACC and took 2 accounting classes. That's how I kind of learned. But there's many ways. There's a wonderful book called The Accounting Game that kind of takes, kids' lemonade stands and uses that as a simple method of teaching the 3 financial statements. There's also a wonderful book called Financial Intelligence that's really an easy book to read that teaches. Our company, Amy's Ice Creams, teaches financial literacy to our employees. We play something called The Great Game of Business. And it was started by a gentleman named Jack Stack. That book is called The Great Game of Business. And it's really making business fun. I mean, you'll find a 13-year-old who might say that they're terrible at math, but they understand that when a batter goes to bat and they strike out, they know how it's going to impact their batting average. That's tough math. So we can definitely do financial statements. We just have to want to, and it has to be fun. So the financial statement is storytelling, and it tells you an awful lot about your business. And it tells you, like, it's the history. When you have a financial statement, that's something that happened in the past. So you have to spend a little bit of time looking at what it's telling you about the past, but the majority of the time looking forward, telling you, how can I change what we're doing to impact the success of my business? We call that the 80-20 rule. What's behind me does not matter. You look at it, and then you make changes, you go forward, you evaluate your progress against your new plan. But I want some promises here. If you don't already love financial statements, you're going to find a way to love it. We have 15-year-old kids that can define all 3 financial statements, and it's done a phenomenal amount. It's really the reason our business is successful today. Another little hint is do not succumb to peer pressure. There's an awful lot of peer pressure, and we don't realize it. We don't realize we're being impacted by it. For instance, when I go back to my school, my friends say, how many units do you have now? What are your gross sales? And I really want to be successful. I really want to work hard. I really want to do well. And so you kind of want to say, well, 100 stores, 1,000 stores, multi-million dollars in sales. But that isn't necessarily the right thing for my business. We made a conscious decision to keep our company smaller, to focus. We have a mantra that we say 100 years, not 100 stores. It's peer pressure that just says that the norm or the measure for success is rapid growth and high unit growth, high gross revenue growth. Don't succumb to peer pressure. Ask yourself, that may be right for you, but make sure you're asking yourself, what do I want from my business? What are my skill sets? Where do I want to end up? The other Howard, and I always forget his last name, from Starbucks was speaking recently, and he grew Starbucks to a gazillion units and had a huge impact on people's lives, really being the culture caretaker of Starbucks. He wrote a book called The Magic Cup. When he retired from Starbucks and he got a gazillion dollars, he went into massive depression and admitted that he was perhaps even suicidal because he didn't have that opportunity to impact lives anymore. So that's what he realized was important to him. So ask yourself that question. Other examples of peer pressure, when I first opened Amy's, I saw other companies, and they were advertising in what was then kind of the Chronicle. It was called The Third Coast. And I thought, well, I recognize this business. I'm familiar with it because I see their ad. Graphically, it's really beautiful. And I wonder if that builds customers. So I called them up, and I figured out how much it costs to advertise in that magazine. And it was about $500, and really, all the rules say you have to repeat, or people don't see you. So I figured out how many ice cream customers I had to get into Amy's in order to pay for that $500 a month ad. And I thought it was absolutely impossible for that many people to read that ad, come into Amy's and make money. So I decided against print ad, which is what everybody did at the time. Question decisions. Just because somebody else is doing it, trust your instinct, your values, and your gut. Back to the getting comfortable in your own skin and confidence, trust you and your instinct because you're probably right. And if you do it differently, then you might differentiate yourself. Franchise requests, that was a way to grow rapidly. But I cared too much about the customer experience at Amy's Ice Creams. We don't think we sell ice cream, we think we sell an experience. People don't come into our shop because they're hungry, they come in because they're sad, they come in because they're happy, they come in because they went to the dentist, they come in because they're on a date and they don't want it to take too long in case it's a bad date so they can eat ice cream and go home. So people come to us for funerals. We cater funerals. We are a part of people's lives. We relieve stress. Our mission statement is to make people's day. And if we franchise, we can't trust that the individuals that we sold those franchises to would be able to have the same goals and mission than we do. It's tough to execute. Hint number 3. Problem solving. I really love this one because once this all crystallized, it really helped me attack my day. Define yourself as a problem solver. That's what you do every day. That's what small business is. That's what life is. You're problem solving. It's the gap between your expectations and reality that causes you the stress. So if you identify yourself as a problem solver, one example I can use is if you were a doctor and you expected all your patients to come in that day and you expect them all to be healthy, and one after another they're sick, at the end of the day, you'd be exhausted. You feel terrible about your job. But if you set your day up and said, I am a healer of sick people, and you met each and every one of your patients and did what you could towards healing them, you would feel successful at the end of the day. So identify yourself early as a problem solver, so when problems hit you every day, which they're gonna, then you're not surprised and it's not draining your energy. You feel successful. That's what I do. Hint number 4, stakeholders. So employees are going to come to you and they're going to ask for well-deserved raises, right? And you want to give them the raise, but because you're so financially literate, you know your financial statements and you know there's not a lot of room for error there. And so you can't necessarily give raises to those employees. So you're the one who's got to say to them, I'm sorry, I know you deserve it, here are our financials, we can't afford to give you a raise. A different way to do that is it's all in education and financial literacy, is to explain the company as serving, we identify in our company 4 stakeholders. One stakeholder is the employee. We want them to have a great experience working for the company. We want them to be able to be financially stable and not financially insecure. We want them to have great relationships with their friends and to be able to celebrate successes at the organization. The second stakeholder is our customers. We want our customers to come in and have a great experience. We want them to pay a reasonable price for a great product. Our third stakeholder is our shareholders. 33 years ago, I wrote a business plan, raised $100,000, and I have shareholders. If those shareholders do not get a reasonable return, not an Enron return, a reasonable return on their investment, they're not investing in you guys tomorrow because they're not going to believe in that investment model. It's not paying off. People don't give you money just for fun. So shareholders, it's hard to identify with them sometimes, but you really have to. They have to get a reasonable return. The fourth stakeholder is our suppliers. Our suppliers, if they don't, I went to dairy science. I forgot to tell you I went to Rutgers Dairy Science School and came up with a recipe for our ice cream, but we have somebody else produce it, not the ice cream, but the cream base, because it's food and it's very important that it's sanitary. So we license our recipe to a large, very sanitary plant. So if they, I want them to get the prices down, prices down, prices down, so that I can make sure the employees make money and make sure the customers' prices aren't too high. But if I try and negotiate those prices too low, they're not going to want to produce my product for me anymore. And so I have to make sure they're making a reasonable return. So the lesson in this point is that if you consider the 4 stakeholders and that every decision you make gets bounced on those 4, it becomes a lot more logical why you make decisions. And it really, your employees, everyone really engages a lot more with the business and the tough decisions that we as operators have to make. Okay, this will be number 5. I'm on a green light, so I'm gonna give you tips until I run out. The next one is, we have a lot of projects in our life and our business that are really overwhelming, and it's very difficult to start them, and it's very difficult to see yourself getting to the end and being successful. So it's really important that you break those large projects, if they're important, into baby steps. Baby steps that are approachable, that you can have success, and you can have progress towards your large goal. So if I'm thinking, we opened a bakery 2 years ago called Baked by Amy's. That was huge. We really wanted to do it because we wanted to we wanted to bake our own ingredients so that we could have really high quality, really clean ingredients for our ice cream. And so the idea of opening a bakery, where do you get a space? What does that look like? What is all the equipment? How are we going to pay the rent? It was huge, but we broke it down. We as a company decided that we wanted to do it. We broke it down into baby steps. We had a vision of success. We attacked the hurdles as we identified them, and we celebrated little steps along the way. So really taking large problems that you have in your life or your business and attacking them in baby steps. Number 6, networking. Who here loves networking? Okay, you guys are good. I'm an introvert, and I loved authenticity. That word is so important to me. I love real relationships with people. And when people talk to me about networking, I always thought, it's false. You can go to some networking events where people are just shoving cards at one another, and it feels like it's just an opportunity for a sales call. Real networking is, we got a giant world out there. There's a gazillion people in it. We're trying to create smaller, meaningful communities that we can relate to. And so as we meet people and you have a meaningful connection and you can help one another, really understanding its mutual benefit and its relationship, and financial good may come of it or it may not, but in the long run that relationship is valuable. So for me personally, and my aversion to networking, that's really helped me value getting out in public and going over the stress or hurdle of being introverted and relating with people and building long-term relationships. Next, what do I have here? Oh, people always ask you managing work-life balance, and I have 3 kids. I have 21, 19, and 13. Like I said, I have over 5 companies. We have a pizza parlor in Smithville a Neapolitan pizza. We went in Italy and studied wood-burning oven pizza making and opened this pizza place, and so juggling that and the bakery. And we have a consulting company called Amy's EDU, where we teach leadership, culture, the great game of business. We teach speaking with confidence, juggling that with my fabulous partners who happen to be in the audience. And how do you do that, work-life balance, and make sure that your kids are doing well? It's all life. You're the same person at work as you are at home. And if you guys are entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs, or approach your jobs in large companies as entrepreneurs, then you have the joy of having a lot of freedom. More responsibility, probably more time, but more freedom. And intermingle the two. Like for me, I broke down the wall between my home and my work, and realized how they both helped one another. My children were raised at Amy's. They are, if they want to start their own businesses, they've already had their MBA by age 20. So try and break it down, but also remember, and sometimes you can and sometimes you can't, depending on your industry, but also remember, oh, I have a red light. That doesn't look good. Also remember that to be you in both places and not to have a work person and a home person. Be yourself. Be true to your values, your instinct, trust it, and build confidence in who you are, and that makes you special. Thank you guys very much.